All right, well, welcome and thank you for being here this evening, where we'll now reconvene the June 12th, 2018 regularly scheduled board meeting of the Richland 2 School Board of Trustees, where we have just returned from executive session discussing, let's see what we discussed, student appeals, readmission requests into the district for the 18-19 school year, a legal matter regarding transportation, a personnel matter, employment recommendations, releases, and in-district transfers. At this time, we're going to jump straight into our agenda and move to item 3.1, the inspirational moment and Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Agostini.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last week, it was wonderful to be a part of our graduation celebrations. Tonight's inspirational moment will be presented by Blythewood High School's recent graduate and senior class speaker, Avery Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Agostini. Good evening, Dr. Davis, Chairman Plank, other members of the board, family, and community friends. As Blythewood's class speaker, I've been reflecting on the intense emotions that occur as we close this chapter of life's story. It doesn't seem like that long ago when we were getting ready to start kindergarten. Then, like now, we were excited, but also scared, unsure, and ready for nap time. But if you'll bear with me, I'd like to take us all the way back to 2005 for a moment. You see, kindergarten me loved playing with Lincoln Logs and Legos, and so when I was very excited when my dad told me that his children's sermon at church was going to be about being a builder. During that message, he shared a simple poem which reads, "I watched them tearing a building down, a gang of men in a busy town. With a ho, heave, ho, and a lusty yell, they swung a beam, and a sidewall fell. I asked the foreman, are these men skilled, the men you'd hire if you had to build? He gave a laugh and said, no, indeed. Just common labor is all I need. I can easily wreck in a day or two what builders have taken a year to do. I thought to myself as I went my way, which of these roles have I tried to play? Am I a builder who works with care, measuring life by rule and square? Am I shaping my deeds by a well-made plan, patiently doing the best I can? Or am I a wrecker who walks the town, content with the labor of tearing down?" As the class of 2018 gets ready to take on college, the military, and the workforce, I ask them to consider, are you a builder or a wrecker? In elementary school, one of my favorite games to play in PE class was called Build and Destroy. The builders had the task of setting cones upright, while the destroyers, or wreckers, objective was to knock them down. My classmates and I quickly discovered that it was a lot easier to be a wrecker than it was to be a builder. Unfortunately, this is just as true in life as it was in the game. It can be easier to sit back, to bully, to gossip, and wreck others' self-esteem than it is to get up, encourage, help, and embrace. Luckily, in my time at Blythewood, I quite literally got to see the benefits of being a builder. My sophomore year at Blythewood, we created Home for the Holidays, an initiative where the school and community came together to refurbish a home for the White family, a family that had lost everything during Columbia's historic flood. Out of everything they lost, the hardest thing to regain was hope. However, we, the class of 2018 at Blythewood High School, were able to rebuild some of that hope. Before we had even finished the house, the Whites were telling us about all the excitement and hopes they had for that year and for the future. But, to borrow words from my favorite musical, Hamilton, that was not a moment, it's a movement. During this year's Holiday Wishes project, Blythewood traveled to Main Street Elementary in Lake City, South Carolina, to host an assembly building hope and providing school supplies to students in need. We ended the assembly by leading the students in a simple chant, I believe that we will win. Now, I know what you're thinking. For a recent high school graduate, I sure do tell a lot of stories about elementary schoolers. But that's to remind myself and everyone that anyone, no matter how small, can make a difference. After all, as acclaimed businessman Michael Scott once said, if a baby were president, there'd be no taxes and there'd be no war. Joking aside, I'd like to tell one more story from elementary school that I think demonstrates the importance of being a builder. That story is of one of my good friends from second grade who wanted to be a construction worker. When I told him my plans of owning a hotel, he didn't laugh like the other kids. Instead, he offered to build it. In fact, in second grade, my friend promised me that he'd build me the hotel of my dreams, and all for the incredible price of $1. Having even just one friend who believed and supported my dreams helped build my confidence and made me believe I could do it. He and I drifted apart over the years, and I was surprised to see his name trending on Twitter last year. and saddened to see that on March 30th, 2017, Ellis Hawkins had gotten into a car accident and was taken from Earth too soon. And although Ellis never got to be a construction worker, to me and all of those who knew him, he certainly was a builder. Ellis epitomized that the most important thing you can build in life isn't a building or a car, a business or a career. The most important act of building you can do is to build another person up. As we go out into or continue experiencing the world, regardless of where we're going to college or what career we choose, or if we're going to Moe's or Smashburger after this board meeting, let's all agree to be builders, careful, patient, and precise. And when we look back, we'll have constructed a masterpiece. Thank you.
Now, if we
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sorry about that, Ms. Agostini. Didn't mean to cut you off. And Avery, we thank you so much for that. Were there any other comments? Dr. Elkins-Johnson.
Avery, thank you so much for sharing that speech again. It was great the first time. It's even better this time. And I'm so impressed to see that I vote sticker on you. So congratulations and thank you for that.
Thank you, Dr. Elkins-Johnson. All right, at this time, excuse me, Mr. Shad.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
I said this privately to Avery and his family, but I'm glad that he got the right one-half side. And it's not Mr. It is not Mr. Vernie Williams. Thank you. And that's on YouTube.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you so much. All right, let's move on to item 4.1, the approval of the agenda. May I get a motion?
Agenda of the regular board meeting, June 12, 2018.
Motion's made to approve the regularly scheduled board meeting, June 12th, 2018. May I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Shad. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Next up is item 5.1, special recognitions. Dr. Davis.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, we have Ms. Libby Ruth coming before us this evening to present our special recognitions for the June 12, 2018 board meeting. Ms. Ruth?
Thank you, Dr. Davis and Chairman Plank, members of the board. We certainly are having a premier year when the school year ends, and we are still have a long list of awards to recognize. We're very excited about that. We thank our staff members, our community members, our parents and students who, especially our students and staff members who are on summer break but chose to come back and be a part of this. That says a lot. I told you, board members, this is a hot ticket coming to a board meeting. In fact, Avery, our speaker tonight, this makes about his third or fourth board meeting in a row. So I don't think we're going to let him graduate. We'd like to just keep him coming back and coming back. So let's get started. First, I'd like to call up Abhimanyu Salish from Blythewood High School. And I believe I just have one principal here, Matt Sherman, the incoming principal at Blythewood High. Come on up, the two of you. Bobby, oh, where is he? Mr. Cunningham, outgoing principal, Bobby? I guess he saw Matt and he said, well, I'm good, I'm gone. He's on the job now. July 1, nope. Abby is a rising junior and won first place for the category of environmental science paper at the South Carolina Junior Academy of Science written research paper and oral presentation competition. His first place paper and oral presentation investigated how cells respond to different drugs used with breast cancer treatment. Specifically, he looked at the effect of a chemical called collagen that is found in dark, brightly colored fruits and vegetables, several Asian spices, and some types of honey to see if it reduced the effects of cells that were exposed to cancer-causing environmental toxins. Abby, we hope one day your research will offer hope to those who suffer from breast cancer. If you were already doing this type of research in high school, when that sounded like something that a medical student in medical school would be doing, I'm sure it will. Because of this award of high distinction, Abby has also been nominated as a South Carolina delegate to the 2019 American Junior Academy of Science meeting in Washington, D.C. Abby, we look forward to seeing you back many times during your senior year at Blythewood. Congratulations. We have another group of gold medal winners from the National Spanish exam. And we talked last month with that group that we recognized that it is no easy feat. But there are 7 students all listed up on the screen from Spring Valley High School. If Principal Jeff Timoni would come forward, along with 2 of the students who were able to make it to the meeting tonight, Christina Trifanova and Alyssa Williams. They'll come forward. Their teacher, Gloria Ham, who's very proud of them, could not be with us tonight. She's actually attending a World Language Institute to learn how to help even more students earn gold medals on this exam, which is an online standardized assessment tool to measure proficiency and achievement of students who are studying Spanish as a second language. Out of more than 150,000 students who took the exam across the United States, the ones who scored 95th percentile or higher are considered gold winners. These 2 students and the others listed here are among the best Spanish speakers in the country, and we offer a special congratulations to Christina for having the highest score in South Carolina in level 4. So congratulations to both. Thank you. And now to our Ridgeview, Dr. Mac Foxworth. You want to come up along with our director of our Palmetto, the Ridgeview Chamber Choir, Aaron Phillips, director. Please come forward. And now I'll call the students who are with us. They are Caleb Cunningham. Come on forward. Javon Fickling. Diamond Gaston, Jay Gibson, Alyssa Gonzalez, Bernard Hassan, thank you, I knew that. I just, wanted to hear you say it. Kiara Hayes, I wanted to hear you say that as well. Cameron Jones, Byron Lattimore, Gabriel McFarland, Jasmine Nelson, Joycelyn Pagan, Jocelyn, see, another one, just got to mix it up there. Okay, I'm going to get this one right, though. Kaya Roberts-Jones, is that right? Okay. Tayden Smalls, Christopher Wheeler, and Stephanie Wiggins. Now, these students, some of them may look familiar to you because they, can y'all kind of move this way a little bit too so that Ms. Jones can take a picture while I talk? This group treated us to an amazing rendition of the national anthem at one of our board meetings. So it's not surprising that they traveled to the St. Andrew's Lutheran Church in order to compete in the inaugural Palmetto State Choral Competition, which attracted top choirs from the state. The chamber choir received first place in the 4A chamber choir category, as well as earning superior ratings from all of the performance judges and an excellent rating overall. The vocalists had 2 parts to the competition. They had to sing prepared songs, but then sight read a new piece they had never seen before. Other than some choral festivals, this was the first competition for this chamber choir. Ms. Phillips says they only meet twice a week during their lunch, but they worked hard and were dedicated to doing well, and they absolutely did. 7 members of the choir graduated last week, and at least 4 of them, most likely inspired by Ms. Phillips, plan to major in music or music education. And tonight's a special night because we had an excuse to get you all back together because we hear that Ms. Phillips is moving to Greenville, but we want to thank her for her service to these fine and outstanding talented students. Congratulations. Unless you want me to say your names again, you can sit down. Now we'd like to call up school nurse Betsy Salcedo. Betsy Salcedo from Polo Road Elementary and her principal, Dr. Cassandra Bozier. We want to say congratulations to Mrs. Salcedo, who's been named the Richland 2 RN Registered Nurse of the Year. Mrs. Salcedo works with her students and educates them about their condition, whether she is working with a student with asthma, a student with a headache, or a student with anxiety. With a calming voice and demeanor, she is able to manage the emotional, psychosocial aspect of nursing, whether she is working with an individual student, faculty, or staff member, or a group of individuals. Each person receives her undivided attention. This next part almost brought me to tears, Ms. Salcedo. Her nomination form includes the story of how she noticed subtle signs that a student was developing type 1 diabetes. Salcedo works with the child's parents to get her seen by a physician. Once the diagnosis confirmed her hunch, Salcedo made sure the family had the support needed to manage the disorder effectively. School nurses take their responsibility very seriously because they know healthy children are better learners. Ms. Salcedo speaks Spanish and is able to communicate basic information to parents while awaiting collaboration with one of the bilingual family liaisons. Congratulations, this award can't thank you enough for all that you do. Now I'd like to ask Kirsten Bullington from our Richland 2 Institute of Innovation Student Learning Center to please come forward, along with Director Kevin Albersi. Ms. Bullington is the next energy engineering instructor at R2I2 and has been recognized with the Lemelson MIT Excite Award. This national honor is given annually to a select group of educators across the country who lead a year-long invention project with their students with the goal of solving real-world problems through invention. The R2I2 project is creating a feasible solar hybrid solution for one of their partner schools in Senegal. Winning this award means that Ms. Bullington gets to attend invention education learning opportunities at MIT next week and will return prepared to continue igniting the flame for her students. Congratulations and thank you for inspiring your students to create, solve problems, and continue on the path to premier. Congratulations. Now I'd like to ask Dr. Andrea Berry, principal of Lake Carolina Elementary Lower, and team that's with her, Shane Bagwell, Jackie Norton, Jane Fail, and Kim Johnson. Please come forward. We are excited to congratulate Lake Carolina Lower for receiving the Whole Child Award from the South Carolina Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. The Whole Child Award is designed to recognize schools that have gone beyond a vision for educating the whole child to actions that result in learners who are knowledgeable, emotionally and physically healthy, civically active, artistically engaged, prepare for economic self-sufficiency, and ready for the world beyond formal schooling. I need to come back to elementary school because I need all of that. Lake Carolina was recognized in the area of engagement. This award seeks to help schools ensure that students are safe, healthy, supported, challenged, and engaged as they enter school each day. And the icing on top with this great award is they get a $2,500 grant and an invitation to the conference. So congratulations. And one more school to recognize tonight, and that's Muller Road Middle School for 2 prestigious awards. If Principal Sean Bishton and Assistant Principal and AVID Coordinator Lakeisha Cook will come forward. Muller Road has been named an AVID School-Wide Site of Distinction and a National Beta School of Merit. AVID, which stands for Advancement via Individual Determination, fosters a safe, open culture, high expectations for teachers and students, and collaboration in all classrooms. To earn the status of a school-wide distinction, Muller Road teachers underwent AVID training to learn methodology, strategies, and practices. The school also implemented AVID school-wide strategies on focused note-taking, organization of agenda books and binders, and increasing and encouraging a college-ready culture. And I believe this is only your second year of implementation, and you're already receiving that honor. The National Beta Club School of Merit designation indicates the school's dedication to academic excellence, leadership development, and commitment to celebrating student achievements. Schools earn this distinction by offering National Beta Club to all eligible grades on their campus. Mullow Road Beta Club students meet regularly to plan, lead, and participate in service learning opportunities. Congratulations on these well-deserved recognitions. That concludes our recognitions for tonight. Thank you for this time.
Thank you, Ms. Ruth. Thank you, Dr. Davis. And at this time, we'll move into item 6, but I'll give the opportunity if those who would like to leave, please do, you may feel free to do so now. And as Avery had said, thank you for being builders in our district. I know. It does. Okay, moving right along, we'll move on to 6.1, approval of the consent agenda. May I get a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Agostini.
I move that we approve the consent agenda for the regular board meeting June 12, 2018.
Motion's been made by Ms. Agostini to approve the consent agenda. May I get a second? Second by Dr. Caution Parker. If no discussion, we'll vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Move on to item 7.1, our public participation. It's our first public participation of the evening. We do have a couple signed up. I'll ask you to come up in alphabetical order. I'll call your name. I'm going to go ahead and run over the guidelines now. You'll have 3 minutes to present, and just for your knowledge, we will not be responding at the conclusion of your presentation. The meeting is recorded and is available for viewing on YouTube. Please refrain from using specific references to school personnel or students. And when you approach, just start by, well, the microphone's activated, so you'll be good there. And just if you would state your name for the public record. Thank you so much. Let me start with Stephen, is it Masola? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Superintendent Davis and to all of you, Board of Trustees. I'm very thankful to stand here. I first of all want to thank you for putting your meetings on YouTube. I don't come here all the time, but every now and then I catch up on YouTube. I'm here to talk about the agenda you discussed on May the 22nd regarding, I think it's the RFB agenda about selling alcohol. I'm here to just express my concern that our district will be selling alcohol here. My concern is this. First of all, it's just a bad example for the school district to be selling alcohol. Personally, and now this is my view, and I'm not here to quote the Bible, but I'm expressing from just a moral point of view. It's a bad example because our children don't even have to be here to be able to receive the example we are setting. If they just know from other people that the school district has allowed the sale of alcohol, that will not be a good example, a good encouragement for our children. And again, with all the issues that we are struggling with, and to put our children in a place where they think, oh, this is okay for everybody to do, is just not a good example. The other thing, I feel that the sale of alcohol is not only a good example, but I believe as a public school system, we do the best we can to raise money through the taxpayers to support the school system. I believe the school system, if I'm wrong, I can be corrected, is a non-profit organization. And I'm saying that because I heard from the discussion it was mainly for raising revenue. And my question was, I'm not paying enough taxes to support everything the school needs? If that's the case, maybe it needs to be brought to the attention of taxpayers. So again, I just feel that the school needs to just do the best. If they don't have money, bring it back to the taxpayers and see if we can raise enough money to support. But to go through the sale of alcohol is just not good. And if the school district cannot stand without the sale of alcohol, then we are just poor. There's nothing that will help us survive. So again, I'm recommending that we not do that. That lastly, let me just give an example. It is like some of us may say, yeah, taking alcohol is fine. It's like somebody who can swim well, but you take somebody who can swim, but they are not that well equipped, and you take them in the deep of the sea. Going out is no problem, but will they make it back? The point here, I'm saying that a bad example can be harmful to somebody who does not really know how to assess their own ability. They may say, I'll drink one, or it's okay to drink one, but they may not make it back. And to me, that will make me feel bad if I was the example that caused them to swim in the deep, but they cannot make it back. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Masola. Thank you. Ms.
No, we're not
Ms.
allowed
Mackey.
to. We're not allowed to respond to speakers who come. I just want to acknowledge my pastor. And it's good to see you, Dr. Masola. Just wanted to acknowledge you for being here.
Let me
Dr.
just say our pastor, because we both attend the same church.
Thank you, Dr. Elkins Johnson. All right, next up we have Mr. Mustafa. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did, sir.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
All right.
Chairman, body, I myself is here in the same conversation in regards to facility. I'm kind of appalled. I have a son, 2 grandchildren, and probably about 3 great nieces and nephews that go to Richland too. Okay? But beer and wine in itself, Chairman, is alcohol. Beer and wine is alcohol. And as the gentleman spoke, which is very much correct, what model are we setting? What example are we setting? It's not a good example at all. This beautiful facility here, yes, we can lease out the event room, lease it out. We don't need alcohol. We got enough problems anyway with alcohol. I mean, it's common sense, you know. Are we taking greed over reason? What are we doing here? These beautiful children. What kind of example are we setting here? What kind of example? We have too many resources if we're trying to accumulate dollars, okay? As a driver instructor, I'm a driving instructor. I teach driving instructors, safety, defense class, as well as teach children as well as adults how to drive and give them their license. Distraction, that's my main word that I use in the classroom, distraction. And the greatest disappointment, as I tell my students, the greatest disappointment is losing a loved one before their time. That's the greatest disappointment. And when you look at the statistics here in South Carolina, behind the wheel, we're losing loved ones left and right. Each one of your board members, I would say, will have to be liable and responsible if someone leave here and go out here and the fatality take place. You guys are responsible. Make no mistake about that. If I could rush on and quickly read some of the South Carolina crash statistics, 1 traffic collision every 4.6 minutes, 1 fatal collision every 12.2 hours, 1 injury every 16.0 minutes, 1 person killed every 11.4 hours, 1 person killed in a DUI collision, Chairman, every 26.2 hours. Greed or reason? I ask that you guys reconsider. Again, beer and wine in the South shouldn't be served. Anyone, I'm sure, if they qualify, can rent out the event room. But what if we get they have to be 21 and over to drink. What if we get some inexperienced persons? Someone gonna leave there intoxicated. Look at all the congestion that we have here. We already got enough congestion, already got enough devices as it is. Every day, every minute, there is an accident. So remember, you guys are responsible. You guys are the leaders, and that is definitely not the proper decision. So I hope you reconsider that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mustafa. I appreciate your comments. We have no one else signed up, but if you'd like to address the board now, please do so. And if you would state your name for the public record.
Mr. Chairman, Stephen Gilchrist, and let me first of all thank you for what you do for the students and the parents and the teachers in the school district. I appreciate the pastor and I appreciate the gentleman that just spoke about policy that we're all here tonight concerned about, and that's your liquor policy. That's what I'm calling it, a liquor policy that will be instituted in our public school facilities. Now, I know some of you, and Ms. Mackey, I appreciate you earlier today sharing with me your definition of what this particular facility is when it comes to educational facilities. But let me remind the board of something very, very, very important, Mr. Chairman. And that is, you're here tonight to vote on agenda item 10.1 in just a little bit. You would not be voting as a board, as an educational board of trustees, if this was not an educational facility. And so the fact that you're taking a public vote to vote on a issue like providing liquor in public facilities, that's something you need to be really concerned about and really mindful of as you consider this vote. So I wanted to just mention a couple of things to you to consider. One, I think it would be wise for you to consider seeking the Attorney General's opinion about this kind of opportunity manifesting itself within public facilities. There's a lot of case study, both the Supreme Court and local courts have in many ways addressed this issue over a number of years. And so I would encourage you to consider, before you take a vote on this, consult the South Carolina Attorney General just to ensure that legally you're not putting yourselves in a position where you're not able to satisfy your obligation to the taxpayers of this district. The last point I just want to make, I remember when R2I2 was being proposed, and many of us who voted to support the bond referendum during the time that this facility was developed, there was never mentioned that there would come a time where we would have liquor being proposed in R2I2. And so we're now beginning to revisit this in a way that was not consistent with what you sold the taxpayers in this county and in this district. So I just share that with you, that as you begin to consider this tonight, that you consider these points. And I would encourage you to do your homework when it comes to making sure that legally and liably you're not placing yourselves in a position not only to harm what we consider as a great school district, but also those that might partake in some of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilchrist. We have, again, no one else signed up. If you'd like to address the board, please do so now. Okay, seeing no one, we'll go ahead and move on to next item on our agenda, 8.1, legislative update. Ms. Mackey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We won't have a formal legislative update at this time tonight because, as we know, the House and Senate have adjourned until Wednesday, June 27th. It's election time. I'm sure that's no coincidence. There are some committee and subcommittee meetings are underway, but they're not necessarily germane to the legislative appropriation bill that affects Richland 2. Dr. Miley, if you have anything differently, okay, then we're good. So that's all at this time.
Thank you so
Mr.
much,
Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. I appreciate that. We'll keep on trucking along here and move on to item 9, voting on executive session items. We'll start with 9.1, employment recommendations. May I get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the employment recommendations as provided by the district.
Motion's been made by Mr. Manning to approve the professional recommendation. May I get a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Elkins Johnson. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Next up is item 9.2, student appeals. May I get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a recommendation for student number 3 that we deny the appeal.
Motion's made by Mr. Manning to deny the appeal of student number 3. May I get a second? Second by Dr. Caution Parker. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Chair, if we can just make sure that that says to deny the appeal and uphold. I know that's just a typo, I'm sorry.
And on hold right now, yeah. Sherman, do you see that?
Okay, so we can go ahead and just vote. It's, okay.
Motion passes 6-1. Thank you very much, Mr. Manning.
Mr. Chair, for student number 1, I make the recommendation that we deny the appeal.
Motion's been made for student number 1 to deny the appeal. May I get a second? Second by Dr. Caution Parker. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll vote. Motion passes 4-3. Thank you very much, Mr. Manning.
Mr. Chair, I make a recommendation that we deny the appeal for student number 2.
Motion's been made to deny the appeal for student number 2. May I get a second? Second by Dr. Caution Parker. Any discussion? Again, with no discussion, we'll vote. Motion passes 6-1. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now move on to item 9.3, readmission request into the district for the summer and fall of the 2018-19 school year. May I get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a recommendation that we accept the district's recommendation for a student readmission request into the district for the summer and fall of the 2018-19 school year.
Motion as stated by Mr. Manning and written on our agenda. May I get a second? Second by Ms. Mackey. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Ms. Sherman. Thank you very much. Next up is item 10.1 under old business action requested approval of policy KFB, community use of district conference facility. May I get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I
Mr.
make a
Chair,
motion that
I'll-
we, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we
Dr.
approve.
Caution Parker,
Okay,
excuse me,
I'm sorry.
Dr. Elkins Johnson.
Thank you so much for recognizing me. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we table this policy until we get more information. I know we're still waiting for Dr. Davis to give us the information on how much this conference center has generated and how the money was used back in the district, and we have not received that. So I would like to table this until we get that information. And also, I would like to table this also for the following reason. I did my research, and if you go back and look at the state of South Carolina County Council, Richland County ordinance, it says under B, bars and other drinking places, B reads as follows. And I need to pull it a little away because I don't have my glasses, so forgive me. It says, lots used for drinking places shall be no closer than 600 feet to any lot which contains a school, public or private, and should be no closer than 600 feet to any lot which contains a place of worship. So when we're looking at this policy, we're completely out of order. So I would love for us to go back and take a look at that before we vote, because if you take a look at the convention center, it is not 600 feet away from our public school. So I hope that we would consider the facts before we actually vote on a matter of this magnitude. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
I would like to make a motion that we table this until we get the information from Dr. Davis about the money that was generated and how it's been used. And also, we take a look at this public research that I've done that talks about school spend, alcohol, bars, and drinking places be 600 feet away from schools.
And may I get a second? Motion's been made to table. Now, just let me read Robert's rules. The purpose to lay it on the table is to enable an assembly by majority vote and without debate to lay pending question aside temporarily and when something else of immediate urgency has arisen or when something else needs to be addressed before consideration. So it's been, motion's been made by Dr. Elkins Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Shad. At this time, we'll go ahead and vote. The motion to table passes 4-3. And at this point, I'd like to get a point of order on the table. When we lay this on the table, is this, we can postpone until,
Mr. Chair, I would look at our resident parliamentarian, but I am under the impression, I could be wrong, that when you table a motion, you are supposed to come back to that motion during the current meeting. You cannot table a motion to another meeting. So at the end of the meeting, you have to come back to all tabled items, and there needs to be another motion at that time. Am I correct, parliamentarian?
It passed.
So do you have to come back to? On the next agenda? Okay, great, thank you.
so it doesn't come back on this agenda, it goes on to the next, okay. Go ahead, Ms. Mackey.
Clarification, wouldn't you have a recommendation as to when to bring it back up, Dr. Elkins Johnson, or is that the chair's, you'd have a recommendation as to when? Okay, next, okay, my apologies.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Shad.
I don't know if this is the right time, but I do have some questions I'd like to ask of administration that may assist us in gaining this information for the board. If we can
We'll do that at the agenda, next agenda item. Because this was for motion for approval, and it's been tabled, so at this point, we'll need to move forward. It was up for action. Ms. Table is over. I mean, that was your motion, so we're moving on. Okay, so next up is item 11.1, a new business action requested. This is the South Carolina School Board Association Region 8 Director nomination. Move on to that. Mr. Manning.
I make a recommendation we nominate Ms. Amelia Mackey for the South Carolina School Boards Association Region 8 Director.
Motion's been made by Mr. Manning to nominate Ms. Mackey for that Region 8 Director to serve out the remainder of the 2-year term. May I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Shad. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Next up for consideration is item 12, new business, no action requests. We'll start with 12.1, policy proposals. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the board, we'll have coming before you this evening Dr. Harry Miley as well as Dr. Marshalyn Franklin, who will propose the following policies. Policy DD, which is funding proposals, grants, and special projects. This is a new policy. Policy DDA, federal fiscal compliance, which is also new. Policy IHBF, homebound instruction. GBEA, conflict of interest, staff ethics. BCB, board member conflict of interest. And CF, hiring of school principals / building administrators.
Okay, so we have a number of policies here, so I'll help navigate. Policies DD and DDA are a part of our ongoing project of revising our policy manual. They are both new policies that were drafted by the School Boards Association. The administration has reviewed the draft of the policies, and our recommended changes are highlighted in yellow. And Mr. Miley can answer any specific questions you have about either of those policies, DD and DDA.
Any questions, comments? Ms. Mackey.
Let me get to it, because on DD, a point of clarification with regard to, let's see, special funding proposals, grants, and special projects. The district accepts money, blah, 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 blah. There's something about the board not accepting any requests, endowments, or other gifts if the conditions of the gift remove any portion of the public schools from control of the board. Sounds self-explanatory, but could I just get an explanation as to exactly what that means in layman's terms?
Request endowments, or if the conditions of the gift remove any portion of the public schools from control of the board. That would, somebody offers us a gift and it contradicts our board policy.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
That's what that's for.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments on proposed policies? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move right on. Dr. Miley, I believe you stay for this to 12.2.
Well, we have a few more policies.
Oh, did you just go through the one on that?
We have,
No, forgive me.
those are the finance.
I'm already just, like I said, trucking along.
Okay. The
All
next
right,
policy is
please.
Policy IHBF, homebound instruction. This policy comes as a recommendation from the administration, and Mrs. Katina Davis can answer any questions you have regarding the recommended changes to the policy.
Any questions or comments? Okay, Dr. Franklin.
I did.
Sorry, Ms.
Maybe I
Mackey.
overlooked it. I'm sorry. Maybe I overlooked it. Are these recommendations from the State School Board Association?
Administration.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. Dr. Franklin.
Policy GBEA, Conflict of Interest and Staff Ethics. At the request of the board, the administration revisited this policy, in particular the nepotism portion of the policy. In tandem with that policy is policy BCB. The recommended changes in GBEA are verbatim as those in BCB. The language is verbatim, and so if we make the change in GBEA as recommended by the board, we also need to change BCB. The language is verbatim.
Any questions, comments for Dr. Franklin? Mr. Shad.
First.
Dr. Franklin, the BCB, the first highlighted paragraph, which of course is the tell me the rationale behind that first paragraph, an employee whose family member is subsequently elected to the school board, and it continues on.
Okay. In our a previous meeting when we just discussed the policy, the current policy, if a family member, an employee whose family member is elected to the board and they are a classified employee, they're expected to resign. And it was the board's request that we allow those employees to remain employed with the district if they have a family member who is subsequently elected to the board.
But it also goes on to say they can remain with the district, but they're ineligible for promotion.
Yeah, that's
What's the
current
rationale?
practice, because it would be hiring that person to a new position. And it is the administration's recommendation that we make an exception for classified employees who return to school and become certified teachers, that we can have them be promoted to a teaching position in the era of a teacher shortage.
But if they are already classified, I'm sorry, if they're already certified, then they cannot be promoted.
That is our current practice, yes, sir.
Okay. Is that only while that family member is on the board?
Correct.
Okay. The reason I'm asking that is if that board member then rolls off, then that no longer applies. It's not like that's the death knell for that employee, that employee. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shad. Ms. Mackey?
That was my question. It was about promotion.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. Any other questions? Dr. Franklin?
Okay, and the last policy is policy CF. The language in the current policy, it isolates particular positions, given the perception that the board influences the hiring of upper leadership positions. Changing the language in this policy makes it consistent with policies BBA and BDD.
Thank you, Dr. Franklin. Questions, comments from the board? Okay. I think that wraps that up. Thank you so much, Dr. Franklin. Next item is item 12.2, report third quarter financials. Dr. Miley?
Thank you. I believe you have this in your board docs. This is the third quarter financial report. The first page is the revenues from all of the sources. We're 3/4 of the way through the year. We have collected basically about a little bit more than 77% of our revenues, which is about in line. However, that's over the last 5 years, to kind of give you a guide, that's averaged 77.6%. So we're just slightly half a percentage point below our last 5-year averages. Right now, that could be any one of a number of about 40 different items, revenue sources, but it's not enough money to worry about, but we're right in line, especially if you look at our expenditures. Our expenditures to date through the third quarter were 66.6%, which is, if you thought about in 3/4 of the year, they would be roughly 75%. So we're tracking well. That's slightly below our 5-year average. Our 5-year average is around 69.2%. So we're tracking a little bit less than last year and the last few years. We feel good about that. Some of the major expenditures, as you go down that page, you'll see that we are frequently, it kind of startles people, we're 3/4 of the way through the year, but we spent 95% of the money. Well, most of those are contractual expenditures that we have for 12-month contracts, for instance, for various services and contracts that we have in the district. So those are expected to be expended like that. Our utility bill, if you remember last year, our utility bill came in and was part of the reason we had a contribution to the fund balance. Our utilities came in about $1 million below the year before. We might have a bad 3 months now over the last month or so, but we're tracking fairly well, and we may have a good report in terms of utilities expenditures. The other items, as you know, are the smaller revenue sources. The page 3 are our EIA funds. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have a specific question. We're actually tracking, usually this is kind of the reverse. We've actually received more funding than we've spent this year to date. We'll change that direction during the last 3 months of the year, but we're tracking well on those expenditures. And then our special revenues and expenditures, page 4, one of the reasons I say this, I think, every time, the reason why it's nice to have a fund balance is we've received $11 million so far in special revenues, and we've spent 15. So that fund balance, it helps us with those $4 million of expenditures that we haven't received yet. Moving on to page 5, this is the school board's expenditure analysis. It's in line in terms of our past expenditures. Nothing of great alert there in terms of our expenditures. There is one line item that is negative. If you see the organizational dues, and what happened, and the reason why that's negative is we had 1 year, our last year's dues didn't get paid in, this is looking back actually 14 or 16 months. We didn't pay the dues in 16, 17, so we paid them in 17, 18, and then we paid 17, 18. So we paid 2 years worth of dues in this current fiscal year, and it makes us look, if you go back to last year, we would have been in the plus on that line item. So I just didn't want you to worry about that negative balance there. Page 6 is our outstanding bond issues. As you know, it's the outstanding bond referendum from 2008 referendum. We have most of the projects are complete. We have a few dollars left over in this building to complete this building, at Lake Carolina Upper, a little bit left for growth, and in Jackson Creek, which are all standard allocations for those facilities as they fill up and operate to capacity. There's some expenditure, there's some balances there left for that. And other than that, I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. I feel like everything's tracking on track this year and feel pretty good about it.
Any questions or comments from the board? Ms. Mackey.
With the delay of the legislature providing an estimate for us as to our legislative appropriation that we receive, what does that mean for our budget? Do we just hold off and kick the can down the road a little bit, or what does that mean for us?
It means we're panicking and scrambling a bit and preparing for the worst. We will be prepared to, we can't implement pay raises if we don't have allocations from the state. Pay raises should be implemented and effective July 1.
Sure.
We will have a plan in place that if we get notice on June 29th, we'll have our staffs ready to do that work to make sure everybody is paid correctly. If not, we'll just carry on as we have without those raises until we hear from the state, unless somebody has a better idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. Dr. Elkins-Johnson.
Dr. Miley, just wanted to know, I know we spend thousands of dollars on the DARE program with different schools. Is that coming from the school budget or the district budget? And if you guys can give us an amount, send it in our board docket, of how much we actually spend a year on providing the program for the fifth graders with DARE.
I will find out. I don't know off the top of my head,
Okay.
but I will find out.
Okay.
Report it in a board doc?
Yes,
board brief?
that would be great.
Be
Thank
glad
you.
to.
Thank you, Dr. Elkins-Johnson. Mr. Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Miley, considering that we don't know what that future budget is and considering that we have we're working on our budget for county council, do we need to, at any way, look in some look back request, maybe at least get a report on what that might look like, if that would be of any benefit to us to address the potential needs?
That's a good idea. We will, based on our use of look back, I can't remember exactly, but we might have about, let's say, I think we have about 6 mills Even if we had 9, that's $3 million. State allocation increases are far beyond that, but it would be possible to use some of the look back to raise more local millages, and we'll have that included in the plan that I'll present to Dr. Davis.
I appreciate it. I'd just like to see that, and I know I won't completely deal with it, but, you know, at this point, if we're bleeding, we gotta at least minimize the bleeding, so, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Any other questions? Mr. Shad?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Miley, in a nutshell, we are doing the best we can with what we have, and we are not fully funded. That's a correct statement, correct?
Correct. I think we are. In my opinion, we are. Yes.
But the emphasis is that we're not fully funded.
We're grotesquely underfunded by the state. in my
Profusely,
opinion.
yes.
Yes.
Well, I share your opinion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Shad. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Dr. Miley. Appreciate that. Next up is item 13.1, agenda items for the June 26, 2018 regularly scheduled board meeting. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the board, we have for the June 26, 2018 future agenda items, student expulsions and appeals, student readmission requests, our adult ed requests, litigation summary. We will continue with recognitions. I have a legislative update. Also, we'll be looking for the approval of policies DD, DDA, IHBF, BCB, GBEA, and CF. In addition, we'll be adding or bringing before you the following policies for proposal. DJ, which is purchasing, DJGA, sales calls and demonstrations, which is a new policy, GBEB, staff conduct, and GCOA, evaluation of instructional staff. In addition, we'll have a report, superintendent's end of the year report, a budget update, and board officers nominations.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Any other agenda items for future board meetings?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Manning.
I would like to bring back policy KFB that we tabled tonight for action at the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Dr. Elkins-Johnson.
Yes. If we bring that back, I hope we receive the information that I've already requested from Dr. Davis, and also for us to go back with the Attorney General's office to get clarification on this policy about being 600 feet within a school. Because I want to make sure that as taxpayers, we're using their money wisely, and also that we're in compliance with this state ordinance.
Okay, thank you,
and
Dr.
county
Elkins-Johnson.
ordinance.
Any other additions?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Shad.
the only thing I would ask, I know the recommendation is for it to be for an action item, but I also want to make sure that we have the allotted time for discussion as well before it comes to a vote.
Thank you, Ms. Shad. Any other agenda items? Okay, next up is item 14.1, our public participation number 2. We do not have anyone signed up, but if you'd like to address the board, please do so now. Okay, next up is item 15.1, board and superintendent comments. We'll start with my right with Ms. Agostini.
No comment tonight. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Ms. Agostini. Mr. Shad.
Ditto.
Thank you, Mr. Shad. Dr. Caution Parker.
Second ditto.
Second ditto made by Dr. Caution Parker. Dr. Elkins-Johnson.
Just again, want to thank our pastor for coming out, Amelia and our pastor for coming out and stating your opinion about this policy that we have in place. And to everyone, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Elkins-Johnson. Ms. Mackey.
Have to be here, and for those who choose to be here, bless you for your time. With regard to the conference facility, I got a few phone calls and a few emails, and one of the things I always tell people was to come to the board meetings, share your concerns, call us, email. I always, I've got a PhD in my own perspective and my own research, but I respect hearing other people's perspectives as well. My pastor was what has been, I have a great deal of respect for your opinion, and I have since 1999. Bless you. But for everyone who has opinions and wants to share things with us, we appreciate that. Appreciate your time being here. It's a sacrifice of something, your home life. So bless you all for being here, and have a good weekend.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. Mr. Manning.
Evening, not weekend. It's Tuesday.
No comment.
No comment. Thank you, Mr. Manning. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, public. We awarded diplomas to 1,840 graduating seniors last week who are all prepared to fulfill their promise and pursue their passions in the workforce, college, career, or military while living productive lives in their communities. Congratulations to all our unique abilities, charter school, adult ed, and high school graduates. The Richland 2 Food Services, operated by Sodexo, is serving free, nutritious meals this summer on a first-come, first-served basis. Sites are listed on the district's website with the dates and times for the meals. At 2 of the sites, Hunters Way Apartment Complex and Polo Road Estates, formerly Northgate Mobile Home Park, children will enjoy books, arts and crafts, board games, and other engaging activities. This is a 7-week summer commitment for our students. Please come and share your thoughts and ideas about safety in our schools. The Office of Diversity and Multicultural Inclusion has teamed up with WIS-TV to host our 4th Community Conversations of the year. The conversation on safety in our schools will take place Monday, June 25th from 6 to 7:15 p.m. here at R2I2.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Well, we appreciate you so much, and it's an end of a great year. Thank you for all that you do, and it was just really neat to see all our graduates who are going on to continue their education, go right out into the workforce, and those who are going to serve our military. We want to thank you for being here tonight. We'll move on to item 16.1, which is the executive session number 2. We were able to accomplish everything in our first executive session, thankfully. And at this point, we'll move on to 17.1, and without objection, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.